This is the Dynasty Roundtable podcast. Tonight, I'm not going to lie to the audience. I will never lie to the audience. Tonight did not go as planned. We had some guests we had booked. Looks like we're going to be able to reschedule with them. They just got really busy as everybody is, you know, everybody is preparing for the NFL draft, and I can't believe it's just 2 days away by the time this episode comes out. Or actually, it's 2 days away from tonight. 2 days away
Yeah.
tomorrow when this episode comes out, the NFL draft, it'll be draft eve. And so tonight, what we thought we would do is give you some good old fashioned dynasty moves to make before and after the draft. We're probably going to speak more in general terms, but we probably will also bring up some targets that we may or may not have talked about before, situations to target, situations to avoid. We're talking depth charts and whatnot, and the players that we think could be most affected by the NFL draft or could skate by and could be players that we want to buy in on. All of that we're going to cover tonight. And Matt Babich, how are you doing? And how are you feeling as we approach the NFL draft here?
I'm doing great. This is a incredible time for sports fans, an incredible time for me personally. We get the start of the NHL playoffs, which have been great so far. We have NBA playoffs. I'm not a big NBA guy. I'll tap in during the playoffs. The regular season's a joke, but the playoffs, they get back to playing some competitive ball. So there's some good to be watched there. We're in the baseball season's kicking up. And then we have the intro to football once again. We waited, Seth. It's been a long 3 months. Been a long 3 months, basically. But we're back. We have NFL draft, and this is where it's so much fun. The conversation for Dynasty really opens up. We get out of if this person gets this capital, and I like how fast this person ran into a straight line, to actual insights. We know the answers. We could start planning for our rookie drafts. Mocks get more serious. And then by the time, before you know it, you're drafting your redraft teams. And before you know it, it's preseason. And before you know it, it's week 1. We're getting carried to the promised land. And it's exciting.
Yeah. And I think that's a good jumping off point for our topic tonight, or one of our big topics, because I think everybody wants to know what to do with rookie picks. And if you tuned into the South Harmon AMA, I was on there last week, and that was essentially what we spent 40 or 50 minutes talking about, was rookie picks and just how undervalued I think that they are comparatively to the market. And the big example that I used was on Keep Trade Cut, Jadarian Price. For example, Jadarian Price, last time I checked, was the 10th overall rookie, and he's currently at 133 overall on Keep Trade Cut. Now, obviously, these evaluations are going to be different all over the place. Some leagues value rookie picks more than others. But as I've gone through the process, Matt, I just think this year more than any other year that I can remember since maybe 2022, people just do not value these rookie picks, especially picks outside of the top 5. And I don't know if I'm crazy, possibly so. In fact, I know at times I've been crazy on this show, but I think that there's some real value to be had, especially targeting the 106, 107, 108, and especially targeting these picks that are in the later first round, early second round. Because if you caught our episode with John Lobb, he touted a bunch of guys who are not going to be top 7 or 8 first round rookie picks. I mean, one of his favorite guys was Katron Allen, and he kind of sold me on Katron Allen. And Emmett Johnson he likes. I don't like Emmett Johnson as much as you guys, but that's a debate we can have, right? And so, and on he went down the list, and I highly suggest you go watch that episode that published last week, because I think it was just a great precursor to the NFL draft and some targets that you should be on the lookout for, and not the obvious ones. But I just think that for whatever reason, some folks are willing to just throw these late first, early seconds away, and I think that's my first point that I'm attacking. I've sensed a weak chink in the armor, and sometimes that's my weakness too. I'll admit that is I like to zig when other people zag. I feel like it pays off for me more times than not. But how are you feeling about some of the evaluations of these rookie picks? Do you see it similarly to me, or what are your thoughts here, Matt? Oh, it's happened early.
Damn it. I mean, I gotta I mute my I'm do the responsible thing and I mute my mic
Yeah.
so the viewers don't have to listen to me typing. And then this is the reward I get for that. I love the value on these rookie picks, the second and third round in particular, which is where I think there's a lot of value to be had for the price. Now, I don't know if Keep Trade Cut's the most accurate reflection on how people value their firsts, but generally speaking, even in more down classes, it's still pretty hard to pry away a first round pick from somebody. Now, that all depends on your team makeup. Can you be trying to give a contender, a veteran asset that you need to get rid of because you're out of your window? Those are moves you can try to try and get first round picks. And I'm okay with first round picks at the cost of assets if I'm a team that's out of their window and just trying to load up on rookies. Where I would exercise caution is giving up first for extra capital when you can spend a lot less overall and get an early second and make out with a similar upgrade for your team. Because these are all rankings based. And I think this class, more than a lot of others that I've been a part of, do I think that the end of the first and the beginning of the second are closer into a tier. A lot of times by the time you get to the 112 and you're in the 201, 203, 204, you're in a different tier of player than you were at the 109, 110, 111. I think that's a lot closer now. The NFL draft will help tell us a lot, but as prospects, you mentioned Katron Allen coming from John Lobb. Like that is a play that you can make in the early second. Nicholas Singleton you'll be able to get him in the early second. Skylar Bell is a good guy. We want to talk about like mid to late seconds or dart throws at the quarterback position. Like Cole Payton's going to be in play. Todd McShay went on some podcasts and echoed my sentiment on Garrett Nussmeier and his upside. He'll be in play. There's a lot of skill in that second and third round range. My heaviest range that I'd be targeting would be mid seconds, early mid seconds. I think there's a lot of value there, and there immediately you get devalued on a second round pick. I'd be willing to punt a future capital in order to get in on this class because I'm more confident in this early second round than I normally am.
Yeah, and just to touch on a player specifically that and what I generally try to do is I try to find a player that has risen up the rankings, and maybe for good reason, maybe for not. But I've seen a lot of trades with David Montgomery involved. And I've seen a lot of trades with David Montgomery and maybe an extra piece in exchange for the 110, the 111, the 112. And I like David Montgomery as much as the next guy. But if you're telling me that I can flip
Give me the
David
first.
Montgomery for
Mm-hmm.
Jadarian Price, for example, who's evaluated very near
Well,
very very near to the spot where David Montgomery is at on Keep Trade Cut. David Montgomery's at 122, Price is at 133. I think that that's a process move that you make every time, because I'll tell you this, the NFL draft, if I know anything about the NFL draft, it's that it's unpredictable. And just because the Houston Texans signed David Montgomery, would it shock anybody at all if they draft a running back, even in a class that's a down running back class? It wouldn't shock me at all.
mm-mm.
And it's not, Houston is not necessarily the situation that was sold to us a while ago. They're still trying to work out that offensive line. I mean, CJ Stroud had his problems last year. Not to say he can't get better, but I just think that that's a situation specifically as I was thinking about this episode, and as we were, all the prep that we put into it as our plans changed, and we kind of threw this idea together. But shows like this are good too, because it's a we're sharing our thoughts, and even though we don't have a ton on paper for tonight, this is just a process play for me as a situation that I've targeted. And yeah, I so the Houston Texans backfield is one that is interesting to me, because I don't know if they're, especially if they, what if they draft Jadarian Price? I mean, we've been taught, what if they draft Katron Allen? That's definitely something that could happen, and then all of a sudden we're not too as enthusiastic as we might be on somebody like David Montgomery. So I think you're spot on. Those mid to early second rounders, maybe even the late second round of rookie picks, early third round rookie picks, I think are I think that there's value to be had, because if I look up Katron Allen right now on Keep Trade Cut, and again, these valuations are relative to every specific league, but Katron Allen's at 284. I mean, that's just stupid. I don't quite understand that. And obviously, if Katron Allen gets day two draft capital, which is very possible, then that's going to change. But I think, and this is kind of my second point, I do think, just kind of looking at the consensus big board and the people who do this kind of stuff for a living, the Todd McShays, the Bruglers, we might have 6 wide receivers going round 1. We might have guys going round 2 that we didn't expect. I think that we're in store for some crazy shit. I really do, because I think evaluations are all over the place in this draft. And what I think some people forget is, you have to, regardless of how many guys are in that range on your big board, you might only have 50 guys that you think are, I don't know, worthy of being taken in like the first 3 rounds or whatever. But we still have 100 picks in the first round with all the compensatory picks. So I think these evaluations might be all over the place, and because of that, we might get more guys, offensive skill players, even though that this is a down year, especially for running backs, not wide receivers, by the way. We could see some, like, we could see a good ass landing spot for Skylar Bell, Ted Hurst, again, second round guys, not consensus first rounders here. So I think that we're in store for some of that, I think, on come NFL draft. But what's your feeling about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do think we're going to get a lot of receivers early on. I'm really hoping it's not the opposite. Receivers not as a replaceable position of running back, because like last year we were saying the same thing of like, oh, we could see a lot of running backs go day 2, day 3, and they did, but the waterfall didn't really start happening until like the 4th round, and then even then a lot of them got pushed to the late 5th, 6th, 7th round. I don't think that'll be the case with the wide receivers. I think it's just too important of a position, and the talent is really there. I did like a little, like a weird face when you said Jadarian Price for David Montgomery. Because for some reason I thought you were talking about the other Notre Dame running back, and I was like, no one's trading David Montgomery for Jeremiah Love. But Jadarian Price, I like that call. And it's something I do think Houston drafts a running back. I would love to see Emmett Johnson be that guy. I think he is a good compliment, because David Montgomery still has value in his own right. So you don't necessarily want to draft somebody who's more of a in between the tackles bruiser type back. And that's Katron Allen. So I don't know if that schematic fit is totally there. I think he works as a better complement to Emmett Johnson because of being the outside of the tackle receiving back type of player. You mentioned Ted Hurst. That's another guy I would love to be trading for that early to mid second rookie pick for right now, because I think he's starting. He's making the airwaves too on the actual in quote unquote insiders that are putting together these mock drafts. So his name's getting around. It's not going to shock me at all if he goes late second, mid third. I don't think he'll get second round capital. I think that'd be, but we've seen weirder things. Like we've seen Jalen Reagor as a first round draft pick over Justin Jefferson. We've seen, I think Denzel Mims was taken early second round. out of Baylor.
Yep.
So there are a lot of crazy picks. It wouldn't surprise me that much. So I've talked about kind of buying the mid second round picks, even potentially early first round picks. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is a name that I'm scrolling through here and looking at. Like, why he's only 22 years or 24 years old, so he's got plenty of time. But when you look at the Cardinals roster, right? They got him and Michael Wilson, and then after that, it's really nobody. I mean, they have Kendrick Bourne, who I think is very talented in spurts, but they don't even have Greg Dortch anymore in the slot to work with. So they seem to be a candidate to upgrade some offensive weapons. I wouldn't be shocked if they brought somebody in. And it's sitting at wide receiver 22 for a guy who just consistently isn't proving it. It'd be one thing if he struggled last year. It'd be another thing. It's another thing that he struggled and Michael Wilson went absolutely bananas in his absence. It's hard to imagine a world where Michael Wilson doesn't start getting more of the looks. So you have an
No, I
opportunity. He's valued at like an early 2028 early first. So you have the ability to finagle something to get a trade in, and you could potentially be turning Marvin Harrison Jr. into Denzel Boston or somebody similar. He's actually ranked only 6 spots behind Carnell Tate. So if his value is that high, 2 spots behind Mekhi Lemon. So you can even be trading for what's basically a mid 2026 first for Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't know if that's the exact value you're going to be able to get out of that. But even if I have to push towards a later first this year, I want to make that kind of move.
And I'll throw out a name that I've talked about before. I'm not afraid to talk about it again. I mean, Christian McCaffrey is another guy
Mm-hmm.
who is in this range. I think he's in play. If you're looking at the 104, 105, 106 in that range, I think for sure the 106 would get you in exchange for Christian McCaffrey. You could get the 106. And for all the reasons, and I'll just briefly go over the cliff notes here. I mean, Christian McCaffrey touched the ball the most he's ever touched the ball last year, and the last time that happened, he played 10 games in 2 seasons. And so one of two things has to happen for an older running back, a running back that's going to be entering his age 30 season. Either his workload's going to have to get cut down significantly, which is bad for fantasy, or he gets hurt, which is bad for fantasy. Or I suppose the third option, the people who want to fight me in the comments about Christian McCaffrey saying it's a lazy take or whatever, the third option is somehow he miraculously surpasses the odds and delivers us another incredible season. I just don't think that that's very likely. It's certainly possible. I just think it's the odds of it happening again are very slim. And we saw it play out last year with Saquon Barkley. And Saquon Barkley is a guy that I'm, at 29 years old, if you made me choose between Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley, I would choose Saquon Barkley just about every time. Because I think this Eagles offense can rebound. I don't know if it can get much worse. And I think Saquon is a guy that can bounce back. But I mean, you're looking at Christian McCaffrey being ranked. And again, I know that this is going to change as the buzz and the hype picks up as these, maybe Jordan Tyson does get top 10 draft capital. I think the odds of that happening are better now than they have been. I mean, the steam on his name has just gone up and up and up. He might be the first wide receiver taken, but Jordan Tyson right now, 68 overall, Christian McCaffrey 59. It would be kind of incredible to me if you could pull that off. But if you can get the 104, 105, put yourself in a position to get one of those elite wide receivers from this class, because I think at this point Tyson is locked top 15. I think Tate's locked top 10. That would be incredible. I think Lemon could be the guy that falls down the draft board a little bit, but he's still getting taken in round 1 if you ask me. I just think that there are some veterans that you can trade away if you're savvy enough. And Kyron Williams is another one of those guys too, I think, that I would be a little bit concerned about because we saw Blake Corum's usage tick up a little bit. Now it's a little riskier because that Rams offense is awesome, and it was awesome last year with Matthew Stafford, and I don't see why it can't be awesome again, especially if they add a wide receiver with pick 13. That would be incredible just to get ahead of it and replace Devontae Adams um, before you have to. That would be incredible. But I just think it's those kinds of move. It's boring, but I think it works. Is being ahead of the curve, trying to trade some of these veterans for these rookie picks to kind of out ahead of it and to target these picks. And again, I just, not to reiterate a point that we've been making here, but I just think that these rookie picks are severely undervalued. I mean, according to Keep Trade Cut, Kenyon Sadiq and Alec Pierce are back to back. So I think Kenyon Sadiq's one of these rookies. He's the one of the riskier rookies because he's a tight end. He is athletic as shit. So if you're going to bet on a tight end, that would be the kind of tight end to bet on. But at the same time, that he could come into the league into a bad situation and just the wheels are churning and nothing's happening. That's definitely, that's, we've seen that happen before with the Noah Fants of the world. So I don't know. Talk to me about just any sort of process play that you're currently thinking about, or a player or a situation that you have your eye on as we enter the NFL draft.
Yeah.
And then we can maybe move on to another topic if you would like.
Player and situation, the Washington Commanders. So they're pretty likely to be drafting a receiver with high capital. A lot of mocks have Carnell Tate going to them with their first round pick. So Terry McLaurin being a guy who's worth that late second round pick or late first round pick, I'm willing to explore that. That trade, 31 years old, still a talented receiver, no doubt about it. But being able to turn Terry McLaurin into, a Jadarian Price or a Denzel Boston, if you want to put up a little bit extra to get up to a range where you can get Casey Concepcion, um, that's a move I'm interested in. Like if I could throw in, it might be too much, but just off the dome, like Terry McLaurin and a 2028 second or something like that to grab Casey Concepcion, like that'd be a beautiful trade in my opinion. But that's kind of that's my process right now is looking at, who are some of these veterans or even fringe players that are going to be impacted by the draft, likely to be impacted by the draft. And I don't want to be trading away players off of pure speculation. But guys like you mentioned, guys like Terry McLaurin, who are on the wrong side of the age curve, maybe production year over year hasn't been going their way either. They've been regressing in terms of their production. Like that's the good time to say, hey, I'm going to get out in front of this now because we're running out of time for the peak rookie pick value window. I mean, quite literally, we have like 48 hours because as soon as landing spots start happening, people are going to become enamored with these picks. The person who holds the 110 is going to be happy because something happened and now they're really eyeing this person at their pick. Not everyone's going to be like that. Some people are going to say, hey, I'm not really a fan of what happened here. I'm not a huge fan of this class. Or maybe they are, super casual and don't even really know. But the vast majority of the time, it's been pretty proven that as soon as the draft happens, the rookie picks are going to max in their value up to the point, where you have your NFL draft. So pre-draft, we're buying as many picks as we reasonably can. And then during the draft is when we start listening in to see if maybe we can get a profit if we don't necessarily love how the board shook out. Or when we're on the clock, we'd say, hey, I'd rather get the 2-2 than the 110, get some capital and trade back a little bit. You start getting that flexibility when you have more picks to work with. So, I mean, that's just the biggest thing right now. We're all gonna have different process on who we want to trade and what picks we want to trade for, but you need to be trading something to get picks back right now.
Yeah, I think that's well said, and that's why every year I go into pick accumulation mode and I try to flip veterans, and we talked about some Christian McCaffrey, Kyron Williams into picks and maybe tier down to maybe still acquire a running back that can help me in addition to getting a pick in exchange for those players. And acquiring as many picks, not because you want to use all those picks, I think that that's an important distinction to make, is because when you're on the clock, that is when the rookie pick that you hold is the most valuable. If you're willing to play the game. Now, some people don't want to do that. They just want to, they want to get on the clock and they want to make their pick. And I suppose that's fine too. But and this goes back to, Dynasty Startup 101 as well. If you're on the clock, you have that amount of time to make your pick. And I would urge anybody, because again, the rookie hype is going to take over. People are going to get excited. It happens every year, as you said. And all of these picks that you've accumulated and gone through the process, you can really start to listen and feel out offers to see if you could. I mean, I've had it where a pick I acquired a week before the rookie draft, I trade for more than what I traded for. Like it's crazy. Like you would be surprised as to the short memory that your league has in making some of these moves. So leading up to the draft, I think and the crazy part is, I don't think it's too late to get 2026 rookie picks, as we've been talking, because the values are still way too low. But I think that that's about to change. And let's just, galaxy brain this, or whatever the right term is. I don't know. But let's say that we're wrong about this. But let's say we're wrong about Katron Allen, Emmett Johnson, all these guys we like, Ted Hurst, Skylar Bell. This is just the worst of the worst class. How many how many scenarios point us in that direction? You know what I mean? Like not every one of these guys is going to be a bust. And I think our targets and our process are pretty damn good. And the people we talk to are like John Lobb knows what he's talking about. Cody Carpentier, Matty Kiwoom, they know what they're talking about. Like guys that I've talked to at Fantasy Pros, like D-Bro, like having conversations with him about these prospects. So I think our process is pretty good. Like, not to say it can't get better, and I would urge you to go check out our rookie content that we've posted on this channel. We've posted as much as we could leading up to the NFL draft, and in future years we'll have rookie guides and whatnot. That's something we want to do, but I just don't see, based on the amount of film I've watched, the profiles I've written up, we're gonna get some hits in the early second, mid second, late second. We may not have the Puka Nakua, but that's so rare. You know what I
Right.
mean? But so just getting picks just for the sheer flexibility and the value, I think is I think you can do it all the way up until your rookie draft. I really do. And then to transition us to post rookie draft, or post NFL draft rather, it all kind of depends on when your rookie draft is. But a lot of the same tenets apply to the post NFL draft, like moves you can make. I'm still trying to churn out veterans. I'm still trying to acquire as many rookie picks as before. But one thing I did want to bring up post NFL draft is, let's let's take a breath, because the posts and the hype and the hysteria is going to be at an all-time high, as it is every year. Survey the landscape and remember Emeka Egbuka last year. And I want to give you your flowers on this one, because you basically took a I don't care that he went to Tampa Bay attitude. And we might have a similar situation if the Rams decide to take Mekhi Lemon in the first round. You know what I mean? I don't know if he'll fall further than the 105, but you never know. I mean, crazier things have happened. So betting on the talent and trusting your evaluation and going and getting your guys, I think, is super important as you enter into your rookie draft. Because Emeka Egbuka, a lot of people thought, oh my God, he's up against Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. How's he ever going to get on the field? Jalen McMillan, right? Some people were high on Jalen McMillan after that year. Now Mike Evans is in San Francisco. Chris Godwin is, how old is he? Close to 30.
He's like 30.
I mean, would it shock anybody if Emeka Egbuka led the Buccaneers in targets this year?
Oh, he'd be If a sports book were to put odds on it, it'd be like close to minus 200
Yeah, I think he would be the favorite for sure.
by a long shot. Yeah.
So that is what I would urge people to trust your own evaluations because the buzz and the hype and Xavier Worthy to the Chiefs, oh my god, and we're probably going to get some of those, or not Xavier Worthy, who am I thinking? Sky Moore. Sky
Oh,
Moore is who
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking
Yeah.
of. Remember, we were talking
Same
with
thing.
Fizz. We were talking with Fizz. I had George Pickens over Sky Moore the entire way, and then the landing spot happened, and the hysteria took over, and Sky Moore was vaulted above George Pickens in my rankings. One of the mistakes I've made in this process that I urge people not to make, and I try not to make as I go through my own process and try to perfect it. But Matt, what's something post NFL draft that you like to do as a dynasty manager?
So I like to treat my rookie picks like a product because I consider the rookie draft day like a release day. Like you're unveiling something to the market. So think about the iPhone, the PS5, the latest Xbox. Do they advertise it do they start advertising it the day it comes out? No. They do it months in advance. So you think about it the same way, you start generating interest. I want to say, hey, all my picks are up. Give me an offer. I'm gonna start talking about people about what they would potentially be looking for in that pick, and start gathering the interest. Because if I'm somebody who, let's say the back of the first round, or let's say the middle of the first round, I'll keep the Casey Concepcion example from earlier. Let's say I'm enamored with him. Let's say he went to a great landing spot, and I'm watching the NFL draft coverage. They're playing the B-roll. He's freaking insane out there. I go and I watch a highlight clip, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this dude is so good. Well, all of a sudden, the guy in the 106 says, hey, I'm willing to open this up. And then that person's thinking about it, thinking about it, thinking about it, thinking about it. Then 106 is on the clock. Guess who's on the board? Casey Concepcion. You are much more likely to get a trade done just from human behavior. The person who wants Casey Concepcion and wants to potentially get that pick has spent 2-3 weeks, however long it might be, even maybe if it's just a couple of days, depending on when your rookie draft is. I like having it a couple weeks after. I like getting people to stir up. I like people to really get some emotion about it, because they're going to be much more emotionally driven if they waited 2 weeks, saying to myself, maybe I'll trade up in the first round so I can get Casey Concepcion. So it's a long-winded explanation to say, like, just listen for offers. There is no harm in simply seeing what somebody is going to be willing to put out there. And Seth says this all the time when we talk about our dynasty tips, right? Talk to your fellow league mates. Be active. And if you're active, you're putting picks on the block, you're getting information, you're asking people about, even if it's by 1%, your probability of getting a trade done, if you want to, is higher. The probability of you getting offers to even evaluate is going up. And so it's a risk-free way to just be constantly examining your options and allowing yourself to make the best play. And with rookies, emotion wins so many times. Seth, it doesn't matter how many times you and I learn a lesson. We are going to draft out of emotion this year, next year, and every year going forward in at least one spot. It always happens.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on with everything you said there, and I think your Casey Concepcion example is a good one because if somebody really likes Casey Concepcion, and I would be one of those people, right? So if you're in a league with me, you know that I really like Casey Concepcion, and I don't think that there's a huge drop off between the 105 and the 106. I think there's a bigger drop off from the 106 to the 107, to be quite frank, but I don't know if that matters for this conversation. But what does matter is going about the process the right way and feeling out your league mates and staying in contact with them and seeing how everybody is feeling about this class. I mean, a throwaway comment in a chat might be a throwaway comment to somebody, but if based on how much they're posting about a certain player or how many times they dog on, I don't know, certain offensive coordinator here. And I've done that. I've done it. I'll be the first to admit to you that I'm not a huge fan of Matt Nagy. I never have been, probably never will be. But all of this information gathering, all this process, like staying in contact with your league mates, accomplishes so much that it doesn't come to fruition right away, but it definitely can in the future. And one of the things that I like to do, and we've kind of hinted around it, is go on the flip side. And this class is probably not a good example to sort of highlight this point, because the class is so valued so low, especially once we get out of the 105, right? Once we get beyond that, a lot of people are iffy on this class. So this isn't the best example class to highlight this fact. But once the buzz and the mania takes over, like let's say we get more people, which I really think is a possibility, which is why I'm buying picks right now. Let's say we get more running backs in day two than we thought. Let's say we get, I think Jadarian Price is basically a lock day two pick. I would be shocked if he falls to day three. But let's say we get Mike Washington, Emmett Johnson, Katron Allen, Nicholas Singleton into round, like the fantasy footballers, dynasty fantasy footballers, wet dream of all wet dreams, right? Those picks are going to go up all of a sudden, and they might go up to a point where, now I have the option to trade that pick for a veteran that I like if my team is positioned in a particular way to cash in on that, right? So keeping all options open and going about tactfully targeting these veterans and waiting to the after the NFL draft also, everything's kind of shook out. I mean, there could be some trades. I mean, AJ Brown looks like he's going to the Patriots. Some other offseason moves can be made, but in general, everything's pretty much done. So you have the lay of the landscape. So wide receiver X might not have as much competition as you originally thought, and he might be valued still pretty low. Let's go see if I can trade the 108 for that player, because I think that there's more value in
Mhm.
acquiring player X than the 108 provides me right now for my dynasty team. That might be a move that makes sense to you. So just going about the process, because you just never know. And I've been playing Dynasty since 2018. You just never know how the landscape is going to change. And we think we have it figured out until the NFL draft happens and then completely ruins. Like just think of last year. Think of how many running backs we thought were going to go in day two that didn't. Bashul Tootin, Cam Scatabo. Now, granted, they went early day three amongst some others, but that was kind of a surprise to me, to be honest with you. I thought last year's running back class was really good, and the NFL kind of told us, well, it's all right, like, or we can wait until day three to take some of these guys. And I think that this year people are just, I mean, it's the other way. Like people aren't excited enough about some of these guys, so it's going to be tough to make the moves like I just described. But I think that it could happen. You just never know. So post NFL draft, I would just keep all options open and just,
Mhm.
uh, I always say all the time, find the value. And again, I keep coming back to the value is with these rookie picks right now. It really is, because they're so easy to acquire. Is there anything else that any other tips that you want to give? Or I don't know if this is the words of wisdom section, Matt Babbage, yet, but anything
I
else that we need to touch on here?
I think we pretty much covered it. I was thinking we could do a fun segment of our dream fantasy landing spots
Okay,
to end this out.
let's do it. Let's go. Do you want to do maybe the top 10 or 12 prospects real
Oh,
quick?
I
Just
was just gonna I figured like one
oh, okay.
prospect per.
Oh, okay, okay. I was overthinking
Sounds
this,
like
as
you
I
want to add
generally
another
do.
40 minutes to the program.
Yeah. Where do you want Fernando Mendoza to go? Las Vegas.
Oakland.
Uh, Oakland, yeah, the Oakland Raiders. That's yeah. So who's the guy you want to talk about in a dream spot for them?
So I would love to see Emmett Johnson on the Minnesota Vikings.
Oh, okay, I
I
like
would
that.
absolutely love seeing the Aaron Jones replacement come into Minnesota. So in terms of where they would have to take him, it would have to be kind of early mid third with the 82nd pick, Minnesota. I don't think he would be a guy that would be in play in the mid second round at 49. That feels a little too rich. But getting him in the third round, if he falls that far into that Kevin O'Connell system, that's very good at pass catching running backs. It would hurt. I think it would potentially hurt his rookie value too, just because I don't. I wonder how the market would price in being behind Aaron Jones and what that situation would be like. So, because Aaron Jones wasn't the product of health last year, he wasn't at his best from a fantasy standpoint, 31st in fantasy points per game. Only time in his career, barring his rookie season, that he was under 10 fantasy points per game. Only had 3 touchdowns, 12 games, but still only 132 rushing attempts and only 28 receptions. Just not a whole lot of usage. And when he was getting usage, he wasn't that good. He's 31 years old. I think that'd be a perfect fit in somebody who has a bigger role later on in the year, and then could potentially take over that part of the backfield in the next season. My backup would be Houston. As I mentioned earlier, I think he fits very well with David Montgomery, and being that kind of receiving game back in Houston, who I think they're going to be building up their offensive line, but could still use somebody that could be reliable in dump off and check down situations for CJ Stroud. So I think he'd be really good there too. And then just a side fun one, Mike Washington in Washington.
Yeah, I think the Commanders are going to be, for obvious reasons, a destination that it will be a home run for any running back that gets drafted there. Also, wide receiver. They need a wide receiver as well. I think New Orleans would be a smash spot for a wide receiver with Kellen Moore calling plays. I
Oh yeah.
think Kansas City could use a wide receiver. That would be really fun. Maybe they get crazy and they decide Kenyon Sadiq is the heir apparent to Travis Kelsey. Kind of doubt it, but you never know. The two guys that come to mind when you brought this question up are two Dynasty Roundtable truther guys, Ted Hurst and Skylar Bell. So I was looking around in round 2, round 3 to see, where would be just an absolutely smash spot for Skylar Bell. And I've also seen some absolutely dreadful spots, such as the New York Jets. I do not want to see either one of those guys go to the New York Jets at all. But I think that there's some decent spots here. I mean, starting with Washington, I think Washington could be a really interesting spot, in round 3 or maybe even in round 2. I mean, that was round 2 seemingly would be early, but you never know how this is going to shake out. Um, Kansas City, New Orleans, I think would be smash spots. Miami needs wide receivers, and I don't think Malik Willis is very good. But if you think that they're going to suck and they eventually could potentially get a quarterback next year, for the long term, Miami, maybe it isn't as bad of a spot as we think. What about Tampa Bay with Baker Mayfield and the aging Chris Godwin, and they don't have a tight end? That could be a fun one. But I think the ultimate destination that I'm leading to, a couple of them. What about the Chargers? What about Buffalo? Potentially, what about the Rams? As we know, Devontae Adams is getting older. I think that those are all situations we could get excited about, and potentially even Philadelphia. If AJ Brown's out the door, that could be a spot where Ted Hurst or a Skylar Bell
Oh yeah.
or
I would love
comes in
Ted
right away.
Hurst in LA.
Yeah, so I think that those are all spots that we can get really excited about for those guys. And if I had to pick one, just my home run spot would probably be the Rams for either one or the Chargers. just because I'm not sure what Trey Harris is gonna or Quentin Johnston is at this point. And I think that Mike McDaniel coming in could change their perspective on their wide receivers potentially, but we'll see. They could also say we're good with Lad McConkey and the
Yeah,
outside
I
receivers they
just
have.
don't know if they get that aggressive. I wouldn't be super shocked if they take a shot late third, early fourth, depending on. I'm not sure exactly where all their picks are. Um, I think Skylar Bell and Hurst will be gone by the time they get around. I would love either of them in LA because I think it would deplete their value more than it should. I think that would be a landing spot freak out situation.
Yeah, because
Uh,
the like similarly to what we were talking about with Igbuka, like people
At the
were
same
freaking out
time,
about.
though, if there's anyone who can keep this up for 3 more years, it's Devonte Adams. Like
Yeah,
he's so good, and
fair.
just the way he runs routes, like he's never necessarily won on pure speed, but his technicality is so good, and that's why Keenan Allen has been able to succeed in the league as long as he's been able to. So that'd be the one thing that worries me, but I would still be getting a lot of shares of those two because that passing attack can support 3 people in the short term.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I think that's gonna do it for this episode. Click the like button, subscribe to the channel. But before we go, as always, Matt Babich, do you have any words of wisdom for us tonight?
I This is the perfect time to check out hockey if you haven't before. NHL playoffs. It's my obligatory ad sponsorship for the NHL. All the games are on cable finally. Thank you, Gary Bettman. You can't show regular games that aren't on ESPN Plus or NHL Network, but thankfully, playoffs are for the people. All these games have been fantastic. There's only been one blowout. Everything else has been close and competitive, and it's truly an amazing time. These teams are getting really chippy. I've seen 2 all out brawls just tonight before I even stepped into the podcast room, and there's going to be plenty more to come throughout this first round. So give it a chance, and you'll be surprised. You'll probably fall in love with it.
Yeah, right now, if anyone cares, actually you won't because the games will be over by the time you hear this. We have the Montreal Canadiens versus the Tampa Bay Lightning. That's 2-1 near the end of the second period. Boston Bruins, Buffalo Sabres, 1-0 Bruins there. And then the Mammoth, is that a new team? The
They
Mammoth?
were the Arizona Coyotes, and then 2 seasons
Okay.
ago moved to Utah to be the Utah Hockey Club. They did the Washington thing, and then a year later they rebranded to the Utah Mammoth. Actually,
Okay.
a pretty sick color scheme and name, but much better than Commanders.
Gotcha. And then the Colorado Avalanche are huge favorites tonight against the Kings. I've
Here
always
is
found.
your here's your tomorrow's newspaper for NHL. So Boston is currently up 1-0. Boston blows their second straight lead in the third period against the Sabres, go down 0-2 in the series, 2-1. The Canadians are up 2-1. Tampa Bay comes back to win that game and tie the series up at 1, 3-2. The Utah Mammoth tie things up in Vegas, going back to Utah, winning in overtime 4-3. And the Colorado Avalanche once again take it home against the Kings, go up 2-0 in the series, winning 3-1.
All right. You heard it here
Let's
first.
come back and see how those predictions played out.
Yeah, let us know in the comments how you feel about those predictions and how they played out. And I can already hear the comments. No, I'm gonna shut this off because you guys are talking about hockey. Oh well, it's the words of wisdom segment. Matt Babbage can talk about whatever he wants. I'm not gonna about to put on rules for that unless it gets crazy. Who knows what'll happen? But no rules for now. And speaking of well, not speaking of any rules, Aaron Rodgers also continues to do whatever he wants, which is nothing, apparently. He is still, to my knowledge, not informed the Pittsburgh Steelers of his decision to return to the team or not. And if I were the Pittsburgh Steelers, I would have moved on the minute the season ended because who cares about Aaron Rodgers? The only thing Aaron Rodgers can do for you is to screw up your chances of getting a better draft pick for 2027 at this point so you can actually solve your quarterback problem. But who knows? Maybe Mike McCarthy is just going to be more of the same, more of like a Mike Tomlin who's just going to get you to 9-8 and either eliminated from the playoffs in the first round or barely just miss out on the playoffs. Is kind of, you got to keep that status quo going. If that's what you want, then yeah, sign Aaron Rodgers to a 10-year deal. Then he could probably get you to 7-9, 8-9 at age 45, and then I don't know. But please, for the love of God, do the right thing for your franchise and tell Aaron Rodgers to kick rocks, please, because who cares about Aaron Rodgers? That's all I have tonight. That's Matt Babbage. I'm Seth Dewald. Follow us on Twitter. Follow the show on Twitter. Click the like button. Subscribe to the channel. And until next time, I already said it, but nobody cares about Aaron Rodgers, and we will see you later.